Hi there guys, John here once again. Well, we're going to be doing a how-to video today on something that I think you're really going to get a kick out of, and that is how to incorporate actual fishing tackle into a paracord bracelet. Now, most of us are familiar with these paracord bracelets. In fact, a lot of us wear them. And the reason for that, of course, is it is a handy way to carry paracord, which can be used. It's useful in many different outdoor applications, most notably, of course, in a survival situation. Like I said, these are a handy way to carry a fair length of paracord, which can be used from everything from shelter building to building other tools such as a bow drill. The applications of cordage are just innumerable. And one of the features of this paracord, one of the uses that has been touted, is the ability to use the inner strands of the paracord as fishing line. Well, as most of us that are fishermen are quite aware, the cordage that is inside of this paracord is not the most viable method or alternative for a fishing line. And in a survival setting or in a survival situation, the better tool that you have, the better equipped, of course, you're going to be to endure and come out of that situation. And so that is why I wanted to show you how to integrate actual fishing tackle into the bracelet without affecting the look or wear or functionality of the bracelet itself, and yet still be able to have these tools available to you if the situation arises. So anyway, we'll get into showing you how to do this. I'm going to show you how or what you're going to need to put this together. We'll do a quick tutorial step by step on how to make this bracelet with this tackle integrated, and we'll see what you think. So let's get going on this. Okay, so what you're going to need for this little project is, first of all, some paracord. You're going to want approximately an 8-foot length of paracord, whatever color you choose, of course. You're going to need some fishing line, and what we're using is a braided line, and this just happens to be spider wire, 30-pound breaking strength spider wire. Now, typically I would use 10-pound due to the smaller diameter. It's going to be a little bit more useful for finesse situations. I'm using the bigger stuff for illustrative purposes only today because it shows up better on camera. You're going to want a few split shot weights, and it's pretty much the smallest ones you can find. You're also going to want a couple of fishing hooks, and what we have here are size 10. Now size 10, size 12, something like that will work just fine. You don't want to go any larger than that though. You're going to want a release type buckle and a couple clips, either just a general type of clip like this, or just a paper clip will work fine too. Also some super glue, a little bit of electrical tape, a pair of scissors, and last but not least, a lighter. So that's what you need for the project. Now let's get started on how to throw this all together. So once you have everything laid out that you're going to need, you're going to want to start out with your 8-foot length of paracord and your buckle. Now typically I would use a side release buckle that has this arch to it. It just conforms to your wrist better and is easy to take off. However, today this just happens to be the only buckle that I have on hand. So using just a standard method of making a paracord, you're going to want to detach the buckle, making sure that both pieces are upright, and go ahead and just feed your paracord through the top of the buckle. This is a tight fit on this one, and so just get one end fit through there, and go ahead and feed the other end through there. And like I said, this is feeding it through the top end of the buckle, and keep your ends semi-straight, and then just go ahead and pull them through. And what you're going to end up with is a little bit of a loop here. So next, just go ahead and turn that over, take your loop and feed these two tag ends through the loop, coming back up to the top side. Just pull those out and snug her down. Not much to it there, unless your cord's really tight like mine is. So anyway, just get that snug down. This is where the first step of the fishing bracelet aspect comes into play though. So once you get the first buckle attached, you're going to want to come on down here, maybe I don't know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I'd probably go about 2 inches, and take your scissors and go ahead and just cut that paracord there, and set this end aside, using something to hold it so it doesn't go back on you. And go ahead and kind of feed the inner strands out a little bit, probably about 1 inch or so. That'll probably work. And take your scissors and go ahead and just snip those off. You're going to actually want to keep those, so kind of keep them around. Handy little pile there. Okay, so we'll set these aside. Now go ahead and let that just go and kind of put it back out. Next, you're going to want to take your lighter and just kind of melt that end a little bit, not too much there. Okay, so go ahead and get that melted, and while it's still hot, go ahead and insert a ballpoint pen into there a little bit just to kind of flare it out. Okay, so now you got a nice clean edge there. And go ahead and take your split shot weights, and what you're going to want to do is just feed those into the paracord. Okay, just go ahead and use a couple of them on this, no big deal. You can use 1, 2, 3, however many you want. So go ahead and just kind of feed those up in there just a little ways, not too far. Okay, now that that's done, go ahead and set that aside for a second. And actually, we don't need those right now. Go ahead and take your tag end that you cut off and warm that up a little bit with your flame, and go ahead and just kind of spin that around a little bit. You're kind of want that pointed just a little bit here. So go ahead and do that. So you've got a nice melted end there, all kind of, like I said, at a point. You're going to want to take a little bit of super glue now and just coat this end. You're not going to want to coat the very tip of it now, just a little bit right in there. And go ahead and slide that back into the other piece. Press down just a little bit to get it joined, and that super glue will take effect soon, I hope. So anyhow, get that joined up in there like that, and like I said, the super glue will start taking hold. And then you're going to want to take your lighter, kind of melt the end, and kind of burn yourself if you're not careful, and just kind of roll that around a little bit and bond the melted end of the paracord onto the other section of paracord. Yikes, that's hot. Okay, so you've got a nice joined piece of cord, and you've got your weights slid up in there. And this is basically the same method. You're not going to have your full 8-foot length of paracord anymore once you do this, just like you would if you were joining two pieces to make a multi-colored bracelet, a dual-colored bracelet. But this step is necessary for this. So now that you've got that, you're going to proceed to the next step here. Okay, next, go ahead and take some electrical tape. You're going to want pull off probably about 1 inch, 1.5 inches of electrical tape there. Snip that off, set the rest aside, and lay that out. That's the tricky part. See, these little fingernails come in handy sometimes. But get that laid down, sticky side up. Go ahead and take your 2 hooks and lay those near the end. Lay one of those, rather, near the end of the tape. Go ahead and take the other one and just kind of fit that in there, kind of like a little jigsaw puzzle here, end to end, or end in end rather. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but we've got the 2 hooks in there. Next, you're going to want to take your bracelet that you've got joined now, and on these 2 inner strands, just kind of join those together. And on the back side, go ahead and put your hooks up against there, and you're going to want to wrap this as tight as you can get it, for fairly tight here. Wrap that electrical cord around there. And of course you can position these hooks anywhere on the bracelet that you would like, and you know, whether it's on the bottom side or you know, so that they rest on top. They're really not going to be noticeable, so it doesn't matter too much. If you want them on the top side so that they're riding on the top of the bracelet on a more flat section, that's fine. You might want to avoid the very wrist portion here, just because it's got a more significant bend to it. But like I said, those hooks are small enough where it's not going to matter too much. So for the purposes of this video, that is exactly where we're putting them. So what we have now is our paracord is threaded through the first buckle. We've taken and joined or cut and then inserted our weights in there, and then rejoined the section of paracords. We've attached our hooks. Now you're going to want to proceed, go ahead and just pull this down, keeping it as even as possible, and get back to your end pieces. And you're going to want to take your other buckle now, right side up, and you're going to want to feed these down through it. Okay, so go ahead and take that. Wish I had a better buckle for this illustration here today, but I think you guys hopefully get the gist of it here. So like I said, go ahead and feed those through, and then pull it back to near the start of your bracelet, keeping this as clean and parallel as possible. And then at this point you just go ahead and measure your wrist to fit here. So go ahead and just wrap it around, install your buckle. This is really hard to do on camera. So anyway, like I said, this part is just the standard making paracord part, and then a lot of people just use 2 fingers like this and make sure that you've got enough play under there to get the fit. And so once you have that measured for your own wrist, you're going to want to kind of mark that and unclip. Now that you've got that unmarked, I generally will just take either a clip or a paper clip or something like that, and put it on the end there, just to kind of keep everything in place. Then go back to the part that you started with, the first buckle that you started with, and you're going to want to grab your fishing line. And I've got these little white thingies all over the place, and I know I said to keep those, but I lied. So anyhow, go ahead and take your fishing line, and like I said, I would typically use a 10-pound, maybe 15-pound braided line, and of course the diameter on that is much smaller. And you're going to want to tie a knot somewhere near the top, the beginning portion here, just whatever. I'm just going to do an old granny knot here, but anyway, get that attached. Now if you're thinking of using mono line here while I'm tying this, you may want to avoid that, because mono has it retains memory very well. And so the way that you're going to be wrapping this around here, you're going to end up, after wearing this for a while, if you eventually go to take that off, the mono is going to retain the memory of, you know, those tight little coils, and so you're going to have just this horrible little spirally line that's going to be impossible to work with or fish with. So now all that you do is take your line, once you've got it tied off a little bit there, and just kind of wrap it. And you're going to want to, on this starting point, you're going to want to get that wrapped around a couple times, just really nice and snug, so that this doesn't slide. Okay, so just kind of re-wrap that a few times over the original knot and just get that nice and secure. Then you're just going to proceed to wrap along the length of your 2 inner strands here. Nothing too complicated. And of course you can put as much or as little line on here as you want. I wouldn't wrap it too tight, just a little bit snug. And as you go down every little ways, every half inch or whatever, kind of double back up just a little ways and go back over the line, and then proceed to go back down. That'll just help it with slipping. You don't want this to all slip up into one place. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped. You're going to want to wrap your line as much as you're choosing to use, all the way along the length of your bracelet here, just back down to the buckle here, or like I said, as much line as you want. You can put a lot of line on here like this now. You can go ahead and wrap this super tight. I wouldn't even venture to guess how much line that you can wrap around. You know, you could wrap down and then wrap back, get an incredible amount of fishing line on here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this line wrapped on here and then show you guys the next step. Okay, well, as you can see, I have the fishing line wrapped around the inner strands of the paracord. Now, this isn't the best job in the world. Like I said, I'm kind of doing a demo for you guys, but you could kind of get the point here. So what I've done is just wrapped it around and then started wrapping back the other end and came down a little bit. Just kind of keeps everything in place. And then I went ahead and just cinched this down with just a basic cinch knot. I'm going to go ahead and cut off that little tag end here with my really incredibly dull scissors. Very dull scissors. Okay, so we've got that cut, and then I'm just going to take my lighter, kind of burn that down a little bit, kind of get that in place. So, okay, so now we've got that. We've got our paracord threaded through the buckle, both buckles in fact. We've got our weights integrated inside of the paracord. We have our fishing hooks attached on the back side of the paracord, and we have our fishing line, approximately 20-25 feet of braided fishing line wrapped around the inner strands of the bracelet here. So now it's pretty simple. You just go to your basic making of a paracord, or a paracord bracelet here. Okay, so we have that done. And now this is just as simple as making, your basic Cobra weaved paracord bracelet here. So go ahead and put your inner strands up in the front, and I'm just going to kind of do this really quick here, guys, because there's so many videos, and you guys probably already know how to do this. So I'm going to take one side, typically your right side, and just kind of loop that up on the front, okay, just like so. And then take your other side, put it under, over on top of this one coming out here, back under, and then feed it up through this little loop here. Go ahead and pull out the excess, and then just snug that down. Pretty simple there, not much to it. This first one nice and snug on there. Like I said, this buckle isn't one I would typically use here. I'm really not liking this thing much at all, but hopefully you kind of get the point of what I'm doing here. So go ahead and get that knot cinched down, which does not want to do on this one. We'll not be using these buckles again. And then go ahead and just do your next side. You're going to want to alternate sides, of course, on the Cobra weave. And same thing, back up through, pull that, and then just go ahead and pull that tight. Now there's lots of different methods for doing this here, and this is not a how to make a paracord bracelet video, obviously. So anyway, get these snug down as you go, and then we're going to alternate back to this side, and like I said, just pin that up over the top, come over the top and under and through the back side, and then back up through the loop, and then just cinch that down. And you're going to want to keep these snug and tight as you go, of course. So I'm not going to bore you to death with making this here. I'm going to go ahead and just get this bracelet thrown together and show you the finished product here. Alright. Okay, so we're getting down here near the bottom of the bracelet. Wrapping up the last couple knots here. Keep everything snugged up as much as possible. And just about finished. I think we got about 2 more knots here and we will be done. So there's that, and the last and final knot. Oops, sorry for that. And anyway, so there you go. Just snug that last one down pretty darn good there. And go ahead and clip off the ends with your hopefully sharper scissors than mine, leaving just a 1/4 inch approximately, whatever. And then take your trusty old Bic lighter and go ahead and get that end melted up pretty good there, and then just kind of get that into place. Do the same with the other tag end. Go ahead and just kind of get that melted up, get it pressed down. And that is about all she wrote, guys. So there you go. Nice little paracord bracelet. Of course, kind of work it out a little bit, get it in shape. But there you go. You've got a reversed upside down paracord bracelet. So actually it goes this way. So but anyway, there you go. As you can see, this is the bracelet with the fishing line in it. Basic paracord bracelet right there. You can see it's completely flexible, just like any other one would be. In fact, just like the one that I showed you. And yeah, there's not much to it. And what I would recommend, as you can see, well, you might be able to see, is you can barely see the green colored fishing line through here. And of course this is black paracord, so if you were using something like, you know, an olive drab or, you know, a camouflage patterns type paracord, you're absolutely not going to be able to see that whatsoever. In fact, you can't barely see it on this one, even though the colors are, you know, contrasting. So but anyway, that's about it. Like I said, we've got a just a basic cobra weave type paracord here with a latch that is identical to a normal paracord bracelet, except for the fact that this one happens to have full fishing functions in it, full fishing tackle. We've got some weights, we've got a very good length of more normal diameter fishing line, which is going to help in your fishing presentations and doesn't require you to use up your inner strands of your paracord, so you can keep your paracord intact. In fact, if you need a smaller diameter line for something else, you can go ahead and just use that fishing line without having to tear apart your paracord bracelet. It's an excellent way to integrate extra cordage into the bracelet without sacrificing anything at all, looks or functionality. And like I said, you've also got your hooks in here too. So you basically got a full-featured little fishing kit inside of your survival fishing paracord bracelet. And yeah, that's about all I got, guys. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. Hopefully this is something useful for you. You're definitely going to have to let me know what you think of this one. And until next time, we will see you later.